The nature of a newborn child is neither evil nor virtuous. Every child is born pure, with no inherent malice or kindness. It is the environment they grow up in, family, parents, friends, teachers, the way they are taught and nurtured, that shapes their personality. More importantly, it is how they respond to the dark and negative aspects of life that ultimately defines their destiny. Whether they reject or feed those negative impulses will determine the direction of their future. Now let us explore the following story with Buddha and mindfulness to see whether encountering something evil necessarily makes us evil, and how we can stop such darkness from growing within our lives.
On the summit of a peaceful mountain stood a small monastery nestled quietly in nature. There, an old monk lived with his disciples in simplicity and mindfulness. Every day, they meditated, chanted, and lived harmoniously with nature, training their minds along the path of enlightenment. Among them was a young novice who had recently joined. He was earnest, but his heart was still easily swayed by the world. One morning during alms rounds, the young novice knocked on the door of a house where a young woman lived. She had just finished bathing, her wet hair cascading softly over her shoulders, her face radiant and gentle. The novice froze, mesmerized. He had never seen such beauty before. The woman smiled, brought out food, and offered it respectfully. That day, the novice returned to the monastery, but his mind remained entangled with her image. Though taught to visit different houses each day, the next morning, he returned to her home, hoping to see her again. One day, the woman told him she hadn't bathed yet and asked him to wait. As she walked to the river, the novice, overcome by desire, quietly followed and hid behind a tree to watch. For a brief moment, his conscience stirred, but desire soon silenced it. From that day on, he repeated this behavior, secretly watching her bathe, then pretending to arrive just in time to receive alms. He withdrew from others at the monastery, could no longer meditate, and his heart became as restless as wind swirling over a swamp. The master noticed the novice's change. One morning, he secretly followed him and witnessed everything. Without a word of scolding, the master gently placed his hand on the novice's shoulder as he hid behind a tree. The novice was shocked and terrified, his face pale, voice trembling, trying to explain. But the master said nothing, only took his hand and led him up the mountain. After a long walk, they arrived at a stagnant, muddy pond. The master said, "Step into this pond and return." As the novice began to remove his robe, the master stopped him, asking, "Why are you taking it off?" The novice replied, "Master, the water is dirty. I don't want to soil my robe." The master smiled kindly. "A dirty robe can be washed, but when your mind is soiled by desire, no water can cleanse it." Pointing at the pond, he said, "Desire is like this mud. It seems harmless at first, but once you step in, it clings to you and drags you deeper the more you struggle." The novice stood silently as tears rolled down his cheeks. He knelt and said, "I was wrong. Please forgive me, Master. I've lost control of my mind." The master placed his hand on his shoulder, his gaze full of compassion, and said slowly, "Falling is not your failure. Staying where you've fallen is. Rise, my son, stronger and more mindful than before." From that day, the novice no longer went down the mountain for alms. He remained in the monastery, fully devoted to meditation, cleansing his mind step by step through mindful breathing. Though his internal battles were fierce, he did not give up. Years later, he became a revered teacher, known for his wisdom and compassion. In his teachings, he would often say, "Victory over others is temporary. Victory over oneself is eternal."
Today, many young people face a silent battle just like the novice once did. Images, habits, and online content subtly plant seeds of desire in their minds. Desire doesn't come out of nowhere. It grows from what you've seen, imagined, and repeated. Meditation is not about escaping. It's the way to cleanse the mind. Don't keep planting bad seeds. Start by avoiding harmful content and return to your breath. Gradually, you will find your heart at peace, your mind clear, and your inner strength rising like the sun after a long night. Thank you for listening to today's story from Buddha and Mindfulness. If you found value in this message, please like, subscribe, and share. May you always live with awareness and peace in every moment. Buddha and Mindfulness. Stories and teachings for a mindful life.